Welcome to the Skip and Shannon Undisputed podcast. I'm Joy Taylor. You can catch us Monday through Friday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 Pacific on FS1. Here's what this podcast is all about. It's an unscripted, unfiltered, undisputed version of the day's show, and there is a lot to get into in today's podcast. Are the Celtics the biggest threat to LeBron in the East, or is there another team lurking? And how will Nick Young fit in with the Warriors? Plus, Cam Newton compares himself to LeBron, MJ, Kobe, and Tom Brady. Skip, Shannon, let's debate. Let's get started in Dallas. Cowboys linebacker Damian Wilson was arrested yesterday, Tuesday night, and charged with 2 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. He could be fined or suspended for breaking the league's personal conduct policy. Wilson started 6 games for Dallas last season. He's the 4th Cowboys defensive player to be arrested or suspended in 2017, including David Irving and Nolan Carroll. Skip, what's your reaction?
Seriously, my reaction is this.
Understandable.
Right? Here we go again. Yet another week, yet another Dallas Cowboy in trouble, and this one in Damian Wilson might be in big trouble. And on top of that, bad to worst, last night, I have to read another story about my new perfect young quarterback who's almost too good to be true, Dak Prescott, now accused by autograph authenticators of using a machine to sign his memorabilia, an auto pin, as they call it. Now, he's just accused of that. I assume it happened. It's possible Dak didn't know it was happening because we have not heard from Dak yet. Maybe his people were doing it without his knowledge. I have no idea. But can we agree that it's at least a bad look for Dak Prescott?
It's a terrible look.
It's a terrible look. Again, is it a suspendable offense? I don't think so. Did he break a law? I don't think so. It's just a bad look. But Damian Wilson, most people probably don't know him, is a really, really bad look because he's not a star, but Mr. Sharpe. He is a starter. He was the starting strong side linebacker for my Dallas Cowboys. And God knows my defense is now riddled with all kinds of question marks, including that position, because he, Damian Wilson, just got charged with 2 counts of assault with a deadly weapon. So if I get the story correctly from what I read, he got mad at a group of tailgaters in a crowded parking lot at a 4th of July celebration, and he tried to back over a woman, or at least he's charged with trying to back over a woman with his car, and then he brandished a rifle at a man. Great. So now I look back at my offseason so far, and I have lost Randy Gregory to his 7th failed drug test. And by the way, he's a really good pass rusher. And I have lost David Irving for the first 4 games, PED suspension. And by the way, he's a really good pass rusher. And I might have lost a Nolan Carroll to a DUI, which could lead to some suspension. And he was a possible starting cornerback. I'm not a big Nolan Carroll fan, but he's a solid NFL player, free agent that they signed away from the Philadelphia Eagles. Rolando McClain, you'll remember Mr. Sharpe, was a very good inside linebacker, and he was suspended all year last year for substance abuse. Then he got arrested in May back in Alabama for marijuana possession and carrying an unregistered firearm. Great. He's gone. And then they drafted a kid in the 3rd round who should have been in the 1st round and could be a starting cornerback named Jordan Lewis. And why did he fall to the 3rd round? Because he faces a misdemeanor charge of domestic violence, and he has a hearing this coming Monday back in Michigan. Great. So I'm going to stick with my prediction that my Cowboys are still going to get to the Super Bowl because my offense is still intact. Yet my star running back still has the cloud of domestic violence hanging over his head. And I don't know, he might be suspended, he might not be suspended. And now the quarterback has a little cloud hanging over his head over this signature authentication. And yet the offense is still intact, and I still think it could be as good as the Patriot offense. It could be just as explosive. And it won. The Cowboys won those 11 straight games last year, mostly with their offense. So I'm going to stick by it. But I must admit, I don't love my prediction as much as I did yesterday.
Skip, I agree with everything you just said. I guess by now, having played in that game and having covered that game, I shouldn't be numb to this kind of thing, these kind of incidences happening. And they happen to a lot, but it seems to happen with a little more frequency in Dallas.
It does.
You mentioned DeMarcus Lawrence. He's gone for 4 games. Randy Gregory, indefinite. There's a good chance he's probably not going to play anytime in the very, very, very near future.
There's a chance he won't ever play.
David Irving, he got suspended for 4 games for not eating enough spinach, or maybe he was eating too much spinach. We'll leave it at that. Now Zeke has had his issues, and like you mentioned, he might not be suspended, but he's had some immaturity issues off the field this year. We don't have to really get back into it, but we know what happened St. Patrick's Day. We know about the boating incident, although nothing was going on. The police, the Coast Guard, or whoever it is, the water police, they did board the craft, make sure everybody had the life jackets on. And then you mentioned Jordan Lewis, the domestic violence incident. He has a hearing. We don't know what's going to happen with the NFL. They might intervene, because if they're talking about intervening with Zeke, Zeke didn't have a hearing. The cops say we found nothing.
That far. Nope.
They've got a hearing. So this is a little further along than what Zeke's situation ever got. Skip, if the Cowboys are going to do and contend and compete for a championship, that side of the ball has to be at their absolute best. I'm not particularly worried about the offense, because they have 3 of the 5 best offensive linemen in football.
They do.
They have a Pro Bowl wide receiver who seems to turn the corner. He's grown up. He's ready to be a leader. They have an all-pro running back. They have a guy that went to the Pro Bowl at quarterback in his 2nd year, Jason Witten. He's not the Jason Witten from 8 or 9 years ago, but Skip, he's still a third down machine. He can keep the chains moving. Cole Beasley, he led the team in receiving. And
don't sleep on this little Ryan Switzer.
Switzer, he's special. But Skip, you devoted basically your entire offseason, be it through free agency and the draft, to what side of the ball, Skip? Nolan Carroll, he signs it, and 2 weeks later, he gets caught without a liquor license. He's going to be suspended for 2 games, Skip. That's the minimum. He's gone for 2. So you got guys that you're counting on, because remember, you lost your entire secondary. And so now Lawrence is gone. Guys that you were counting on, DeMarcus Lawrence, you were counting on him. David Irving, you were counting on him. Nolan Carroll, you signed him for a reason. You were counting on him.
You were.
There's a good chance you're going to be without Jordan Lewis. And then for this, Skip, for me to get upset over a parking space, you know what that parking space is going to have to be? It's going to have to be right next to the pearly gates, because I want to get out my car and run through before they close the door. Other than that, Skip.
But you know how it started. The tailgaters were taking up 3 places, or 4 places, or whatever. And he said, "Hey, just move over a little bit." And then okay, is it worth this? No, come on. He will regret this the rest of his life.
I wrote this down. One of my favorite quotes, Skip, is like, "You never say or do anything permanently because you're temporarily upset." Are you willing to throw away your season? Are you willing to possibly throw away your career over a parking space?
Yep.
How do you go home and tell your mom that? How do you go home and tell the people in your community, man, I just lost my job because they were hogging up the parking spaces, and I tried to bump her with my car, and then when her husband or boyfriend or significant other intervened, I pulled a rifle on him. Skip, you pulled your rifle on him. Do we know how many guys have got? Will Smith lost his life.
Yes, he did.
You have to understand, when you're a professional athlete, especially a football player, guys are not going to try and take you on head up. You are shoot a brother size. He's 6'2", 235, 240.
Yep.
Nobody is fighting you fair. There's no such thing as a fair fight. You're fighting.
Yep.
So obviously it can't be fair. You're not debating. That's fair. But when you're in a fight, and you pull your right, so now you compounded the situation. You tried to bump someone, you tried to use your vehicle as a weapon, and then to compound that, you pull a gun out. Dude, what are you thinking?
No mercy.
If you're a NASCAR fan, there's a new podcast for you to subscribe to, Heritage Road, the podcast that drives you down memory lane, takes you under the hood, and gets you behind the wheel of America's favorite racing competition. They talk to the hardworking drivers, crewmen, and fans that make NASCAR possible then and now. From NASCAR royalty Bobby Allison to the broadcasters that brought you racing in homes around the country, they've got all the stories you've probably never heard before. Hosted by the voice of Texas Motor Speedway, Rich Phillips. Brought to you by Busch, the beer that has supported racing since 1979. Subscribe to Heritage Road today for free wherever you listen to podcasts. No mercy. The Colts will unveil a statue of Peyton Manning in October, but don't expect former Colts coach Jim Mora to be there. In a radio appearance Wednesday, Mora revealed that he will not be in attendance despite being personally invited by Peyton, who will also have his jersey retired and be inducted into the team's Ring of Honor. Mora, who was Manning's first NFL coach, spoke about his reasoning for turning down the invitation.
I told him I wasn't going to come. I had reasons. I mean, I would love to come back there, but because of the way that I left the Colts, my relationship with Polian, I don't know. I just wouldn't feel that I would feel comfortable being there.
Shannon, should Jim Mora go to the ceremony?
Absolutely he should go. And what the heck does it have to do with Bill Polian? Bill Polian isn't getting honored. The guy that's getting honored, that's having his jersey retired, that's having a statue erected out front of him is Peyton Manning. He offered you a personal invitation. You nor Bill Polian should be a thought. This is all about him. And for Coach Mora, you were gone over almost 20 years ago. Why you left, and I heard, they wanted him to fire Vic Fangio, and he didn't want to fire Vic because he thought Vic was doing. All that was unnecessary. Why you got fired, how you got fired, when you got fired, that's unnecessary to me. But you're making this about you. Bill Polian got fired also. So it's not like he's sending the invitation. It's not like Bill Polian is in charge of putting this thing together. The guy that's getting honored, you were his first NFL head coach. He asked you to be in attendance. And you turn around and make a situation that was about Peyton Manning for what he did for that team and what he did for that city. You're making it a personal vendetta against Bill Polian. Skip, I'm a firm believer in this. And I used to be petty like this and hold grudges. But
Used to be?
I used to be. I used to be petty. I used to be King Petty. But I passed that title on old Queen Petty over here. Skip. You never let a person hold your feelings hostage. Bill Polian is living his life. Bill Polian going to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He's on the network talking. He's going on. And Jim Mora still has this baggage. He still can't let it go that he got fired. You had your principles. You felt Vic Fangio was a good defensive coordinator. He didn't deserve to be fired. So you, instead, they say you fire him or we fire you. They fired you. But this is not about that. This is about Peyton Manning, an all-time great player in the NFL, an all-time great quarterback, asked you to be in attendance because he thought that much of you. Skip, I give you a prime example. When I went to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, I didn't have a great relationship with every head coach, every offensive coordinator or position coach, but I invited them because all of you had an impact.
But if they didn't like you, they had the choice not to show up,
Not to
right?
come.
Okay.
That's it.
Did some of them not show?
Well, a lot of them were still coaching, so they were unable to attend. But here's the thing, Skip. If I invite you, you can't say, well, I got a problem with such and such. Okay, I'm not going to put y'all together. Y'all ain't got to talk. But I'm asking you to come because I want you to know that I'm here a small part because of you. And I think that much of you. But for him to make it about Bill Polian, he wouldn't feel comfortable. What the hell does Bill Polian got to do with this, Skip? It's not his day. I can see if it was a day for Bill Polian and they said, no, I'm not coming. But this is about Peyton Manning. And you made it about, and now you've turned Peyton's ceremony in about a situation that happened almost 20 years ago between you and Bill Polian. Mm-hmm. And he's wrong for that. He should have just, I'm not coming. He didn't have to tell why he wasn't coming.
By the way, there's going to be a related issue to this coming up involving your brother because Jimmy Johnson is going to introduce your brother when he's inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. What's the date? It's August
3rd. August 3rd through 6th is the weekend,
okay.
Yeah.
And remember, Jerry Jones is going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and so the big issue will be, will Jimmy, because he's there, will he then attend Jerry's post-game party, so to speak?
I'm going to everybody's.
Okay.
Eating everybody.
Are you going to be there?
I'm eating everybody food.
Okay, all right. Well, it's the same issue, the same sort of issue. All right, back to this. I'm going to tell you on 2 levels why I disagree with you. I admire Jim Mora Sr.'s character because he quit on principle, as you said, and it was on strong principle. And just to bring everybody back to that season, this was the 4th season he had coached Peyton. He coached him for his first 4. And they had much growing success until that 4th season when they went, phew. Why did they do that? Because they gave up the 2nd most points in pro football that year. They scored the 2nd most points in pro football that year. But Peyton, by his standards, had a rocky year because he had 26 touchdowns to 23 interceptions, which was 2nd most in the NFL. So they were turning the ball over too much, and they got going in the wrong direction, and they were giving up too many points. And when did they hit bottom? It was a highly publicized game involving the San Francisco 49ers, which dropped the Indy Colts to 4-6 at home. It was a Week 11 loss to the 49ers, 40-21. And Peyton threw 4 interceptions in that game, 1 a pick 6. And by the way, the defensive coordinator on the other side for the 49ers was Jim Mora Jr., okay? And what happened after that game? Could we see that clip, please?
They ask him something.
Ask him about...
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
And they went from 4-6 to 6-10, and obviously did not make the playoffs.
We beat them that year too, Skip.
Did you?
Baltimore.
Beat them bad?
I think we beat them by like 10 or 13.
Okay. You probably caught, your
No.
numbers. Come on, tell us. You caught 6 for 75.
I ain't do that. I ain't do much.
He knows
Skip.
exactly
I think I had like 2 for like 14. I ain't do much.
Okay. So, end of year comes. GM Bill Polian says to head coach Jim Mora, somebody's got to go. Your defensive coordinator, Vic Fangio, is out. And Mora says, no. He's a very good defensive football coach, and he's not going to take the blame and be the scapegoat of this. Mm-hmm. So he stands by his principle, and Polian says, well, we got to take it to arbitration then. We're going to have to go to the owner. And by the way, that owner, Jim Irsay, is still owning this team and is still involved. Now, I think it's going to be more about Jim Irsay that Jim Mora is not going to go because he is still there. His presence hovers over this franchise. So Jim Irsay sided with his GM at that point and said, Fangio has to go. And Jim Mora said, well, then you're going to have to fire me. And they did. Yeah. Okay? So here's my bigger problem with this. I can't believe that Peyton Manning is going to allow himself to be honored by that owner with a statue and a retired number, and he's going into the Ring of Honor. One's on Saturday, and then the next one's on Sunday. Because what happened back in 2012, March, do you remember that fateful press conference? That owner eased, I said pushed at the time, but he eased Peyton Manning right out the back door because he thought Peyton was shot. He thought he was done because he'd had the neck issues, and Indy doctors, Colt doctors said, no, he can't play again. He'll never be the same again. And Peyton's personal doctors are saying, I think he's got a shot. And what happened after that? He goes to Denver, and what happened? He should have won the next 2 MVPs. Adrian Peterson came back and won the first one. Mm-hmm. Then Peyton won the second one, and he set the all-time record for passing yards, passing touchdowns. Right. And they went to 2 Super Bowls and obviously won the last one. So I think he had a pretty great finish to his career post-Indy. Yes. And it offended me so much that I wish Peyton would snub his nose at Jim Irsay. But we know Peyton, Nationwide is on his side, right? And so he's got his brand to protect, and he wants to be beloved in Indianapolis, where he should be, because that's the house that he built. Correct. Lucas Oil. So he's saying, okay, I'm gonna swallow my pride, and I'm gonna act like I'm gonna re-buddy up with this owner.
Well, Skip, it took him a while to get to this place, because when it initially happened and he realized that he was no longer gonna be in Indy, it was tough for him. Yep. And he was upset. And it was upset. Not only was he upset that he wasn't going to be the quarterback at Indy, he was upset at the shots that owner was taking at him, saying that all those Star Wars numbers, while they may be good, I need more of these. Yep. And we're going to play, with Andrew Luck, we're going to win a lot of these. And he's starting to realize it's not as easy as winning all those games like Peyton win 13, 14 games every year. He realized it's a lot more difficult than he previously thought. But it's taken Peyton a while, Skip. This is almost 6 years to get over what has transpired. And again, you don't let nobody hold your feelings hostage, because while you're seething and you're steaming inside, that man Jim Irsay going on with his life.
Yeah.
So I just wish Jim Mora would have said, either you're coming or you're not. You don't have to get into reasons why, because you don't need to make it about you. You don't need to make it about Bill Polian. This is about Peyton Manning. This is about his night and getting a statue. That's a huge honor. There are very few guys. Dan Marino got one.
I got it.
Sugar Bear got one. I mean, everybody can't get one of those now, Skip. I got to go to that one, Skip.
Okay, but you know what? When he stood by his conviction and he said Vic Fangio is a good coordinator, Vic Fangio went on to coach the 49er defense that got to the Super Bowl with Colin Kaepernick. So he proved that he went on and flourished. He's still the coordinator. He's the Bears coordinator.
Okay, but Skip, here's the thing. Now, I get you can have your principles. But if I come to this show and there's Shannon, we don't want you to wear striped or polka dot shirts. And I'm like, but I like stripes. I like polka dots. Ain't nothing going on. It doesn't change my debating skills. But Shannon, we don't want you. Now, either you're going to have to start wearing solids, or we're going to have to dismiss you. Now, I can make a stink about it, and we take it to arbitration, and Charlie Dixon and Healy and Witt might say, okay, we're going to go run this by Shanks, who's the president of Fox Sports. Shanks says, no polka dots, no stripes. I want to wear stripes. I want to wear polka dots. You're no longer here.
Okay, but let's take it up a level from stripes and polka dots. Let's take it up to this huge entourage that you bring to the show every day, because you're surrounded by people. What if somebody told you, what if Eric Shanks told you, that entourage is getting in your way, it's distracting you, you have to fire your entourage.
I'll see y'all about 9:30.
Okay. Is that what you would do?
What?
You wouldn't stand by your principle and protect your entourage?
I love that's why they call them homeboys, because they're going to be at home while I'm working.
Ultimatums are tricky always when it comes to this type of stuff. Just so you know, just to jog your memory, you were 3 for 41, 3 catches, 41 yards, and the Ravens won 39-27.
He's like, I got.
Oh. Wait, the Ravens gave up 27?
That was 2001.
Yeah.
That wasn't 2000 season, because there were a lot of it was
a
a little
moving
different.
part.
Yeah.
No mercy. Cam Newton's 2015 campaign resulted in the league's MVP award and a trip to Super Bowl 50. 2016, however, saw Newton take a step back as he had the lowest completion percentage and QBR of his career, and the Panthers failed to make the postseason altogether. Newton, who's recovering from his surgery on his torn rotator cuff, explains how he hasn't lost his competitiveness. He was asked about his goals for 2017 and said, I want a ring. I feel like I'm in my prime. My prime better be now. I don't want to have seen my best days. That's scary. There has never been a time when I've been on a team, I don't care if I'm playing softball, where I haven't been looked upon to be that guy. It's no different than LeBron, Kobe, Jordan, or even Brady. My biggest gift, in a certain respect, is a curse, too. Shannon, what's your take on Cam's comments?
Cam has a very, very, very high perception of himself, and rightfully so. He's a very good player. The only thing is that all the guys that he compared himself to, Skip, have won multiple championships, and they've been multiple MVPs. And once they started winning championships, they didn't regress, and they didn't start missing playoffs. So if he wants to be thought of or along those same lines, he's going to have to pick up his level of play, and he's going to have to maintain that level of excellence. And we haven't seen that. We've seen great, we've seen dips, we've seen great, we've seen dips. And what we've seen for these guys that he mentioned, there's really no dips. Once they got to that level, and the thing that people most admire about Brady is not that he's 40 years old, is that he's playing the same way he's played like when he was 27 years of age.
Yep.
So there's been no dip in his play. LeBron James has been the de facto best player in the league for over the last decade. Kobe, we know what Kobe represents. And Michael, we don't even, first of all, let's just keep Michael out of this discussion. Skip, the thing that, when I listen to Cam talks, there are a lot of things that are mutually exclusive to Cam Newton. He hates losing. Cam Newton is the only professional athlete that hates losing. Cam Newton wants to win.
Oh.
He's the only one that wants to win.
Newsflash.
And then he said, I don't know if we talked about it, the process of him wearing the number 1, that's why he picked that number. So once he got to the NFL, that was the only time he wanted to be number 1. Guess what number he wore in high school, Skip?
Oh,
When he went to Bland Junior College, guess what number he wore?
don't know.
When he went to the Auburn University, guess what number he wore? So once he got to the NFL, that was the only time that he wanted to be number 1.
Maybe he should go back to wearing 2 because those other stops were really good, right?
But here's the thing, though.
One's a jinx.
Yeah.
But once he got to Carolina, they had taken a quarterback the year before in the second round, Jimmy Clausen. Guess what number he was? 2. So there's a good chance he couldn't get the number 2. And that's why he chose number 1. Now, maybe if he'd have gone to Jimmy, maybe if he'd have really wanted that number, I'm sure Cam Newton could have gotten it.
Yep.
But for him to say, well, this is why I chose number 1, because I want to be number 1, what do you think Tom Brady's saying? I want to be number 2. Cam want to be number 1. I'm going to let Cam have this thing. What is Matt Ryan, Ben Roethlisberger, all the other great quarterbacks? Cam, being great is not mutually exclusive to you. You're not the only one that when you lose, it's painful. You're not the only one that wants to win and be great. And he says, the pressure, because I'm Skip. What quarterback there is not pressure on? Well, and I hate using the term pressure because pressure is something you feel when you're unprepared, when you don't know what the hell you're doing. I know Cam was prepared. I know he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
But you don't think there's pressure on Brian Hoyer? Who do they think they expect to make the plays? Even Josh McCown, who's played for a third of the team, the New York Jets, expect him to go out there and perform and put them in the right situation so they can win games. I get it. You're the number 1 overall draft pick. You're an MVP. The expectations level maybe are heightened because once you reach that certain level, they don't expect you to take a step back. But Cam, this mutually exclusiveness with losing and winning and being great, it doesn't only apply to you, bruh. I know Cam a little bit. I know his dad a lot better than I know Cam. His dad went to Savannah State. He's a few years older than I am. And when I see him,
out for the Dallas Cowboys. Go ahead.
Yeah, and we talk and reminisce about some of the days at Savannah State. But Skip, I don't got no problem. He want to be great. He's going to put the time in. I know he's going to prepare. He had the shoulder surgery this offseason, and so he just started throwing, but I believe he'll be ready to go. And I don't have a problem. But, man, this only I want to do this. Only I can do that. And this is only that's the problem. That's where he loses me.
Yeah.
Got no question about his ability, Skip, but this is where he misses me entirely.
I appreciate all the insight, almost the big brother kind of insight you just provided, which leads me to my conclusion from a distance, my 2 cents of concern for Cam. He is so painfully, publicly introspective to a fault. He's constantly putting himself on the proverbial psychiatrist's couch in public. I'm this and I'm that and I'm this. And it's so dangerously self-aware and self-absorbed that after a while you just talk yourself into oblivion. You think yourself into oblivion. What he said to start with was correct. Every time he's ever stepped on a field of any kind, as he said, even a softball field, he's expected to be the biggest and best on the field, or make the most plays, right?
Yes.
Since he was a little kid. It's Cam Newton. He's what is he, 6'6"?
Yeah, 6'6", probably about 250.
Yeah. So we get that. But then he goes to the point where all those other guys are always expected. MJ, Kobe, LeBron, Brady. Yeah, they were. But they never thought about it. They didn't talk about it. They just were. They just did it.
Right.
They knew they were expected to be the best, to make the plays.
Right.
But Cam keeps talking about it to a fault, and then he keeps couching it as in, gee, it's hard. There's so much pressure. Well, these other guys, they never talked about the pressure they felt, right?
No.
Michael Jordan, can you imagine him sitting down saying, it's just so hard on me because everybody thinks I'm going to make the last shot. He didn't say a word about it.
No.
He just said, give me the ball and get out of my way.
As a
right?
true freshman, Skip, he took the last shot. Not National College Player of the Year James Worthy. James Worthy was the first overall pick in the 82 drafts, 83 draft?
You know, you're talking about the 82 national
championship game.
And by the way, on that court, I think it was the most collective talent we ever saw in a national championship
Number
game.
1 overall pick, Patrick Ewing was on that court.
Yeah.
And Sleepy
Floyd
was
yes.
there. And Reggie Williams, and you had James Worthy, and you had Sam Perkins.
And the kid took the shot.
He took it.
Won the game.
A freshman.
Yeah. Okay, and that's when you should have known. That's the guy.
So what
right
the
there.
expectation for him moving forward, Skip? After you hit that shot as a freshman, where do you go from there?
Okay, so now he's talking about, I wore number 1 for a reason. I want to dominate. I want to be the best. But now I have to mature and defer to my teammates. Well, okay, but I don't really need to hear that. You know, that's for you to know in your heart and mind and to start to execute. And there's some truth to that I get. But he even went to the lengths of talking about, I don't want to be seen as having had my best days. So he's already got negative thoughts in his head, like maybe I'm past my prime now.
Right.
Got my shoulder and I've been banged up. Yeah, really? You're past your prime? No. So to me, there comes a point where I love athletes to talk. It's great for us and all that. But he talks himself into oblivion too often.
Yeah.
To me, because as you know, you can overthink things.
You can
think too much until you're thinking on the football field to a fault about the pressure. It's in your head. I got to do this. Maybe I shouldn't do that. No, maybe I should defer. Maybe I should flip it to the back this time. Well, after a while, you're going to be a wreck mentally. And I fear that he's going down that path for his sake.
Because the thing is, excellence is not a skill, it's an attitude, it's a mindset. It's not something that you're born with. Like some people born with crap, they can work well with their hands, or they can do certain things. Excellence is an attitude. Michael Jordan wasn't born with that. But I can tell you what happened. When he hit that shot as a true freshman, and he got National Basketball Player of the Year on his team, and James Worthy said it all the time, he wanted to play me every day in practice because he thought he could beat me. That was Jordan's mindset. That wasn't a skill. Cam, athletes do it a lot, Skip, because I had a lot of sleepless nights, especially the night before the game, because they have given me the game plan, and we've gone over coverages. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm laying in my bed, and I'm looking at the ceiling, okay, this is what I expect on third down, but what if they don't play that coverage? What if the guy used to been jumping inside, what if he jumps outside? What if he presses me when he normally bails? All that's going through your head. It wasn't the pressure that I gotta perform. I'm going through my head about coverages because I already know that I've prepared. I already know I've been in big games before. I deserve to be here.
Yep.
It's not an accident. But I never thought I'm the only one. I can assure you, John Elway was probably staying up late at night too, saying, yeah, we're expecting cover 5, but what if we get 6 kick? Or what if we get quarters coverage? Cam, the things that you are thinking aren't mutually exclusive to you.
Yep.
Because other players, Skip, what player in the NFL wasn't the guy in high school, wasn't the guy in elementary school? You don't just get good once you get to the NFL. Yep. You've always been the guy. And that's what they say. Well, there have been a lot of guys that were the guy in high school, but when he got to college, he wasn't the guy. There's a lot of guys that were the guy in college, and when he got to the NFL. But at some point in time, everybody that's playing a professional sport was the guy. Cam, you're not the only guy.
And by the way, speaking of Kobe Bryant, Kobe was as fearlessly confident to the point of arrogant of an athlete I ever watched.
Yes.
Do you think he had any self-doubt about any of this? Do you think he sat home fretting about, should I or shouldn't I? No, he just let it fly, man.
What every guy that comes up here and they talk about Jordan, what did they say? He's competitive in everything, in golf, in cards, basketball. It didn't matter. He's trying to beat you, and to make it even more painful, he wants to gamble. Skip, it's just not enough for him to say, yeah, I won. He just don't want, he wants your pride. He wants, not only does he like, oh, yeah, I beat you, but I took $100K off you too. That's how Michael thinks. That's how a lot of the greats think. They don't just want to beat you, they want to demoralize you. They trying to stomp you and leave you in their wake.
I told you I used to watch after practice when they'd let the media in. Michael would shoot his teammates free throws left-handed. He would shoot left-handed and let them shoot right-handed.
Yes!
I couldn't hear how much money, but I'm pretty sure it was a whole lot of money that was on the table.
Skip, I'm gonna tell the story anyway. Michael, you know how Michael loves to gamble, and you have to come with a certain amount of money to gamble. Well, the guy came, and Michael took the money, and the guy wanted to sit around. So you got to go. Got no more money. I can't take anything from you.
Playing what, cards?
Yeah.
Okay.
They call it guts, bourrée, anything with money, 15, 10, 20,000 a hand. Sit around. You ain't finna sit around and watch. You got to leave. Leave or leave and go get money and come back. But you're not finna just sit around. That's how competitive he is, Skip.
Were you that guy?
No. Oh, he tried to get me. He tried to say, you're not finna have me sleeping at my grandma's house. I ain't betting you.
Stay out of that.
Yes.
No mercy. Free agent Gordon Hayward announced on Tuesday his decision to join his former college coach Brad Stevens in Boston. Vegas responded to the news by giving the Celtics the third best odds to win the title. Now, the Vertical's Chris Mannix is reporting that the league executives have named three-time All-Star Marc Gasol as a potential trade target for Boston. We're joined by Chris Broussard. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Interesting. Wonder what the king thinks about that.
He on vacation. You seen him singing? He was singing to his daughter Zori, Lil Z.
I don't
They was singing.
follow
He ain't look
him.
too concerned.
Yeah, he look concerned. Hair growing back and everything. Got a
Is
full,
it?
full head of hair.
Oh, he's done with the bald head already?
Yep.
How
He
shocking.
should go with the ball. Didn't look bad.
Nah, we got to keep a little something.
Didn't look bad.
Fight it as long as you can.
Chris, what are you hearing about the Gasol rumor?
I mean, right now it's just scuttlebutt. Even the way it was written was like they could go after him and all that. This is so unlikely for many reasons. One, financially. I mean, Boston's got no more big contracts other than Hayward, who they're obviously not trading. Al Horford would virtually have to be in the deal. And if you're Memphis, why would you do that? Gasol's better.
Yes.
I mean, unless you want to start over and you can get a big package of draft picks.
But here's the thing. Are they going to start over with, they just gave Mike Conley a max deal. Gasol's only 32. He's on a huge deal.
Yeah.
He's an icon there. He went to high school there. And they gave Chandler Parsons a huge. Now, they'd give Chandler Parsons to Boston, but I don't see them starting over because they gave up Zach Randolph, but he's 36. Tony Allen may be headed to the Clippers or elsewhere. He's 35. And you know how it is in some of these smaller markets, particularly Memphis, they love that team. And they love Conley and Gasol.
Yep.
And they get to the playoffs, they play well.
And they play hard.
Yeah, and
they're tough.
Not that they don't want a title, but that's kind of enough there. Yeah. I mean, you know what I mean? So I don't see it happening, but let's entertain it. If it does happen, if it did happen, and even if they could keep Horford, I still wouldn't pick them over Cleveland. But they'd be better, and you could imagine with Gasol and Gordon Hayward and Brad Stevens, a great passing game, ball movement. Now, the thing is, how would Isaiah fit into that? Because he's always been on teams where he can just do whatever he wants. He's the focal point. And even if they got past Cleveland, how in the world would they guard Golden State? Gasol, Horford, Hayward, I mean, they not guarding Golden State. So would they do all of that, Max Horford, Max Gasol, Max Hayward, maybe you have to max Isaiah in the future to just finish second at best? With all those assets that they have, I don't see it happening.
Oh, I guess they're trying to I guess they were to get Gasol, they're going to say, see, we got a Bird and a McHale combo. Oh, we really going to do it now. No, you're not. It's not going to happen because you know why, Skip? Your best player is 5'9" tall. He's a ball-dominant player. And what Gordon Hayward is going to find out, the way that George Hill was getting him the ball, he knew every night, more times than not, I'm going to get the most shots.
That is true, and he was getting them right in his wheelhouse every night.
And he won't anymore.
Marc Gasol, like, okay, I'm the first or second best player on my team. Mike Conley is a facilitator. He is a pass the ball, score second. Not over there, he's not. So it'll be very, very interesting. I know what Danny Ainge, you're just like, I'm going to get a compilation of talent. See, what Kevin Durant and the Warriors did, they made it look so easy and so seamless but nobody else has an offense like that. Nobody else is ball dominant. So it was easy for Kevin Durant to go fit in because the ball's going to find the open guy. You're going to chase one guy off the three, so somebody else is out of position. They swing the ball because the ball will move faster through the air than you can on the ground. But so what? You want to, first of all, they got to trade 4 or 5 people just to try to get Gordon Hayward.
You give up all your depth.
Yeah.
If you kept
Well, by the way, I mean, the more I read, it feels like just to pay Gordon Hayward, they're going to wind up with like 4 players on their roster.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if they're going to have enough to play 5. No, seriously.
Like Olynyk and Crowder will probably be the ones.
And you probably gonna have to move
Smart and Avery.
Bradley.
See, if I'm them, I want to keep Avery Bradley.
Well, I got it,
really
but can
wanna
you?
keep Avery Bradley.
Can you do the math?
Well, Smart. I would send Smart away. But, if they don't want to pay Avery next year when he's a free agent, maybe they'll send him. But
Avery
he's
is
valuable.
probably more tradable than Marcus Smart is.
Yeah.
Right?
What you gonna do with that 5'9" guy that want to get maxed out?
Okay, I agree. I
yeah.
agree. But I'm going to do Chris's hypothetical. Let's just say they do acquire Marc Gasol.
And they keep Horford.
Horford. I don't know how you even mathematically pull that off, but let's just do the hypothetical, the pipe dream of this. It would certainly narrow the gap with Cleveland because Marc Gasol, I'm a big fan because he is one of the better passing big men I have ever watched. He's up in the realm with a Tim Duncan. And last year he averaged a career-high 5 assists. And by the way, he reinvented his body last year because he was pretty pudgy and he got in pretty good shape. He looked the part last year. And he's not a big rebounder, never has been. Career high 9, only 6 last year, but he averaged a career high 20 points last year because he started making 3-point shots. He was attempting 4 a game, which is pretty high for 7'1", right? And he was making 39% of his threes last year. And I know against my Spurs in that first round, he was killing us from the 3-point line. So he's a player, and he's got 2 years left at $22 million and $24, which, given today's dollars, is not. It's just sort of okay, okay money, not huge money.
Right.
So, if you could acquire him and pay him only $22 and $24 at ages 33 and 34, when I still think he'll be very productive. It would be a good.
Yeah, I mean, he's only, like you said, he's only 32, and he's a skilled big man. He's not killing you with athleticism.
Right.
So I think he's going to be good for several years remaining.
Okay.
And think about what you just said, Skip. He had a career high with over 5 assists. That's right in line with Isaiah Thomas. He's a 7'1" big man.
He would be their best passer. They would run the offense through him.
I would agree. But I am with Shannon on this, and I think I was pre-Shannon on this. The ceiling is low for Boston because they can't get away from a 5'9" shoot-first point guard who can't defend. Well, it's just so hard to win championships that way. Do I love his heart and his soul and his gut? Yes. And will he take and make big shots? You better believe he will. He's as good a fourth quarter late game shooter as there is.
First.
Okay.
Well, he stumbled down the end.
He did.
Westbrook ended up catching him.
Westbrook barely passed him. But the point is, game in and game out, he still has to go defend somebody at 5'9", and I don't think he's a really willing defender to start with. It doesn't appear to my eye that he is, like he doesn't take it that seriously or personally.
Well, Skip, he's not that bad at defense. He was just 410 out of 411 players.
Yeah, that's
But that's not, I mean, he wasn't dead last. I mean, you could have been last. That belonged to McDermott.
Right. So I'm going to say again what I would have done if I had the first overall pick. I'm taking Lonzo Ball because he's going to change my culture in my life, and then I'm going to trade for Jimmy Butler. Whatever it takes, I'm just going to go get him. Whatever draft pick they want in my stockpile, I'm going to give it.
No mercy. Swaggy P is headed to the Bay. ESPN is reporting Golden State will sign former Laker Nick Young to a 1-year deal for just over $5 million. He averaged 13 points per game last year. Kevin Durant welcomed Nick Young with this tweet showing the infamous moment where Swaggy P celebrated a shot that did not go in. Very on brand. Chris Broussard is still with us. But Skip, let me start with you. Is Nick Young a good fit for the Warriors?
The rich just got richer. And I'm going to speak as a Spurs fan here. I must admit this. I thought Nick Young was a great pickup for the Golden State Warriors because he has always been willing to take and make big late-game three-point shots, a fearless three-point shooter who made 40% last year. And by the way, Omri Caspi was a very good pickup because he bounced around the league last year on 3 different teams, but 2 years back, he shot 41% from three. So now they have 2 guys who won't play that many minutes, but when they come in, they are both capable of getting hot quickly. And maybe they'll stay hot if Steve Kerr leaves them in the game because they're capable of it. And yet, Nick Young, I loved that tweet, that welcoming tweet from Kevin Durant, because I thought it sent a profound message to one Swaggy P, who's now 32 years of age, but he's like the youngest, most immature 32-year-old in the league. Like, when I looked it up, I said, he can't be 32. But he's 32, and he's been allowed this sort of suspended adolescence as Swaggy P, right? Well, guess what? This culture will make him grow up fast. He's going to have to be just Nick Young in the Golden State culture. And I think Kevin's message to him was, hey, welcome, but we don't do that here, right? We don't turn and prematurely celebrate our three-point shots before they go in.
Well, Steph can.
Steph can occasionally. But you know what? He earned the right.
Yeah.
This guy has not earned the right.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, Nick Young has haunted my Spurs with a few walk-off three-point shots in his career. So I really like both of these moves.
Yeah, it's kind of getting ridiculous.
Yeah.
They just keep getting better
Yeah.
and better and better. Now, I would like to see him bring back JaVale. Because I think
Well, they say they still have
if
a
they
shot.
can get him for the minimum.
Yeah.
Look, the Clippers, they don't need him. You got DeAndre Jordan, but maybe just to get him out of Golden State, not that it's going to kill the Warriors, but maybe it's worth doing it just for that. But I want to bring back Zaza too, because the one thing, I agree with everything you said about Nick Young. He won't be in the game late, obviously. I mean, they've got their killer lineup, their death lineup. But I'm not worried about his immaturity. Because if they can handle JaVale McGee, they'll be able to handle him. Draymond and Durant were recruiting him. Only thing concerns me about the Warriors, not concerns, but, you know, right now they don't have many bigs. I guess they think Damian Jones, the guy from Vanderbilt, is going to be able to step in as a 7-footer. And Jordan Bell's a heck of a shot blocker, but he's only 6'8".
Yeah.
And maybe that won't matter.
Right.
But, look, it's just an embarrassment of riches.
Embarrassing.
It really is.
I mean, it's sort of New England-esque where you win and then you go win the offseason.
Win some more. They brought back the most important. The thing is that they sent Kevin Durant to get a haircut, and they say, well, take it low, and he got a bald fade. So they took all his hair off his head. So he left all this money on the table. So now they can get Iggy. Now they can get Livingston. Now they brought West back. Now, we're not talking about the David West that was in Indiana, that was an all-star, but he can pass the ball, he'll rebound, he gets you a few buckets here and there, play good defense.
Did he take the minimum again?
Yeah.
Right? He just loves rings.
Yeah. I don't, hey.
At this point, though, we
Why
wasn't
not?
going to get much more than that.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, and what they did with this, Skip, this is an 8-layer cake. And when you got 8 layers, you're like, do we really need another layer? They're like, what the hell, why not? Come on, Swaggy. And the thing is, Skip, what we've seen from guys that have bad behavior, when they go to a team that wins and compete for championships, they change their behavior. You mentioned, think about it. Swaggy P and JaVale McGee was on the same team for the Washington Wizards. So you already know what was going on. It was already dysfunction. Look at JR when he got to Cleveland. He wasn't that same. Look at the guys when they go to New England, Skip. All the guys that we see are Malcolm, Corey Dillon, Randy Moss, all these, even Ocho. Now, he didn't contribute like those other guys did, but he was a model citizen.
Best behavior, yeah.
And so that's what you're going to see with Swaggy. He'll get here. He'll learn early on, this is what is expected. This is what won't be tolerated. So he will have no ambiguity of what he can and what he can't do. But like you said, I mean, first of all, I mean, he was 31, and he's hanging out with a 19-year-old. That should tell him something right there. 31-year-olds don't hang out with 19-year-olds. This is why you had the situation with him and D'Angelo and how it ended up. But, Skip, they get ridiculous. And Nick Young, he shot 44% on catch and shoot. That's better than Clay. You look at the guys that he shot, Dame Lillard and Bradley Beal and Harden and JR, Devin Booker. It ain't fair. It ain't right.
That's why the Kang might need to go to the Alamo.
You're pushing that
Really?
hard.
I'm not, because look,
I love it.
You know my Cleveland roots. I hope he stays in Cleveland and gets the help to really challenge the Warriors. But I'm just saying, man.
If we can't get nobody to come,
that's the only thing I see. That's the only possibility.
We can't.
What do you mean?
Is it not?
King can't recruit anymore?
No, I mean we can.
They got no money.
Got no money.
Recruit with what? The minimum?
What? He's the GM and the president and the
No.
coach and the.
Come
got no
Dan
money.
Gilbert cheap.
You got no money.
Yeah, Gilbert's not cheap.
You know, there may be something to your theory because I keep waiting for my Spurs just to do something, like bring somebody back. Maybe they're just
saving the
waiting.
cap for next year.
I bet you they are. I bet
could
you, I
be.
haven't talked to them about this. I bet they are because, like you said, they've been very quiet. Why wouldn't you? They take a shot at every big-time free agent that's out there. Why not? I'm not saying – I know there hasn't been contact and LeBron hasn't said, hey, watch out for me, but they're smart.
Well, you know and I know Pop loves LeBron and vice versa.
LeBron,
and vice versa.
And he's the coach that has given LeBron more trouble than any coach in his career.
Well, I tell you what,
No
Dan, this is my offer to you, Dan. This is what I'm willing to do. I'm willing to gut it out, but I'm gonna need 20%. And when you sell this franchise, I want to get first right of refusal. Now, if you can't offer me that,
I think LeBron is going to end up owning the Cavs. Here's the thing, though. If you stay in Cleveland and when you retire, the value's going to be very high.
yeah.
So you might buy high. They'll never be worth that much.
Well, I'll say
get another
this. If
James.
LeBron owns the Cavs and he wants Chauncey Billups to be his general manager, I don't think he'll offer him $1.5 million because that's what the ESPN report. You said first that it was an insulting offer,
money.
but that's
But
like beyond insulting.
Hold on. But you see what billionaires do? Oh, now he tried to shortchange Chauncey, but Kevin Durant gave the man 10
Yeah,
million.
but that's a billionaire in Dan Gilbert who's basically saying, I do not want Chauncey Billups to come in here because I run this show and I want to be really the de facto GM with the unofficial.
And he thinks that anybody can do it, essentially, because it looks like.
Why don't even hire anybody? Just that'd be a 1.5 million or 2 million or 3 million you can save. You don't hire anybody, and you just do the job. As simple as that.
I think he's basically doing that job.
But Bron, you ain't gonna be able to talk to Bron. Bron say, I ain't talking to you.
Bron's taking his talents to the Alamo.
And Bron say, this is why I'm charging. Say, you know what, Skip? Bron told him, say, you know what? I would have come back and played for $5 million a year and let us hoard players. But for that letter, you got to pay triple. It's gonna cost you 33 this year. It's gonna cost you 43 next year.
Shannon, what are you going to do if he goes to San Antonio?
I'm gonna have to
You're
let
going
it
to
go.
eat that broccoli, baby.
You ain't going to
I'm gonna have to catch and release. I'm gonna have to, hey, Bron, it's been fun. I enjoyed it, but hey, they say if you love something, set it free. I gotta let him go.
No mercy. Thank you for listening to the Undisputed Podcast. Subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, listen on SoundCloud, and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. We're back at our normal time tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. Eastern, when NBA champ Eddie House joins the show.
Fox Sports 1 of 1.